Test 1, 2, 3.
Today I'm here at Keats and I'm going to show you what we do around here and what the facility looks like. On the production floor, we make our parts for the metal stamping from automotive to healthcare industry, and that's where everything's made.
There's a lot of family that are employed here. My father was employed here, my brother's employed here. There's cousins, there's brothers. With that said, there's also a lot of employees that have been here 40, 50 years. And they're the older generation, and Keats Manufacturing understands that, well, these guys are going to retire. So they are heavily involved in the apprenticeship program with District 214. And there are high quality, high paying jobs in manufacturing.
This special type of steel, it's heat treated. Heat treated stuff is harder to cut into, so that's why we're using the EDM machine. I am currently working in the EDM department, and I am working on EDM drilling, also Shadow, the CNC guys, and the other people working on the other EDM machines. This apprenticeship has helped me from just confidence boosting, help get experience with job experience and life experience, help learn from older people and people that have been here for a while, from like 20 years to generations. It is a family-owned place.
We're excited to have Joe here, and it's been a pleasure working with him, and I hope even if he goes to college that he understands that our door is open. If he wants to come back here maybe and decides that manufacturing is something for him, he's welcome back.
With this experience, just getting it under my belt, Miss Gannon helped me very much with just writing a letter with me. Now I'm going to be able to go to the University of Kansas, and I want to pursue a career in business, like the business side of the manufacturing department. By just doing an internship or an apprenticeship, it will just help with you figuring out what you want to do in your future. Like, this is an opportunity that you can put on like a resume. If even like trying to get into college, it can help you open up doors that you never thought you could open.
What year is it? What is that machine you have? We're gonna do this thing. We're making it happen. A lot of music. Hey, today we're here at the Mix. We had the opportunity to be part of the Holiday Spectacular with the Morning Mix team down here in the downtown studios, and we brought the Prospect Magical Singers down to add a little holiday joy.
You can nose around. If you see something you want, just take it. That's fine.
We arrived here at the Mix on 27th floor, overlooking Millennium Park. Beautiful view of the lakefront. Kids are hanging out in kind of the lobby.
Our stocks are going down. What is going on? Our stocks are going down.
And they're really getting prepared, warming up their voices, and getting ready for some pretty special moments on air.
We three kings of Orient are.
This was probably one of the coolest experiences I know in my career. To come in and do a radio show, this is unheard of. So, and I know the kids were just like out of their minds, excited about it.
That's right. The Morning Mix Holiday Spectacular rolls on. I got to tell you guys, a little bit of nerves right now because my high school theater director is just staring at me.
Which one is that? Okay.
Yeah, the young handsome one.
We've had many performances to get up to this moment, and today we just really focused on trying to make sure we had tall vowels because no one can see us and see our excitement. So we needed our energy to kind of go through the sound waves of radio.
It's the Prospect High School Madrigal Choir now live on the Mix.
Kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star.
I think one of the special moments is just our songs that we love, like Mary Did You Know by the Pentatonics, to be able to sing something that's popular, that's on the radio now in the exact arrangement that we hear a famous group like the Pentatonics sing.
Sight to a blind man, Mary, did you know that your baby boy would calm the storm with his hand? Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels trod? When you kiss your little baby, you kiss the face of God. Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know?
So I personally never thought I would be able to get on the radio, especially 101.9, which I listen to every morning on the drive to school. So this was really amazing. Not something I can say I ever thought I was going to do, but definitely something I'm very happy I got to do. And I personally just felt thrilled to be on the show this morning.
Mary, did you know?
The Morning Mix Holiday Spectacular with the Prospect High School Madrigal Choir. It was awesome.
That is a jam.
My man beatboxing, what's your name?
Alex.
Alex?
Yeah.
Alex on the beatbox.
So at one point in the broadcast, Lauren had the opportunity to sing a solo on air, did a Taylor Swift mashup that she put together, and I'm sitting back watching this. What a special moment for a high school senior to be live on Chicago airwaves singing a Taylor Swift song.
This is Lauren from the Prospect High School Madrigal Choir.
Romeo, take me somewhere we can be alone. I'll be waiting. All that's left to do is run. You'll be the prince and I'll be the princess.
So when I was singing the Taylor Swift song, I was really nervous at first because it was nerve-wracking, like knowing that I was going to be heard by a couple people on the radio. So, but once I got started, it was more fun and I could like get into it. So like performing music is my whole life. So.
I've had too much to drink tonight, but I know it's sad, but this is what I think about. I wake up in the middle of the night.
I wanted to perform a Taylor Swift song because like she's been one of my biggest idols ever since I was a little girl, so it's kind of, especially with songwriting, like she's kind of the one who really influenced a lot of my songwriting like journey. So yeah, it was really cool to get to have that like roundabout experience.
They want me when I'm nothing new.
Thank you for this experience. Thank you to Prospects for giving me the experience to sing on my own. Overall experience, I'd give it a 10 out of 10 rating. It was really cool to come here and to look around here and get to experience another side of music industry, and yeah, it was really cool.
This morning we are at an hour 15 minutes from O'Hare to downtown.
Another amazing thing was they made us really feel like we were a part of the show for the morning. So when Violetta would go through traffic, if there was something good, we'd all shout, huzzah!
They are only 25 minutes from Montrose to Ohio Street. Huzzah!
And if there was something bad, we'd all go boo or womp womp, which really made us feel like we were part of the show, which I just added to the level of fun that everybody had today at this once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Okay. Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to call the order of the Township High School District 214 Board of Education for Thursday, March 14th, 2024. The secretary, please call the roll.
Dustling. Here.
Fiorito.
Here.
Heineman.
Here.
Palmer. Here. Rauch. Walker.
Here.
And Kreutzer.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Could everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, should we,
Just hop in.
did you want us to stand for that? Dr. Rowe.
All right, tonight I ask that you join me in reflecting upon a very sad moment, a loss of a staff member. Tonight we reflect on the contributions of Bob Coupon, an esteemed social science teacher at Wheeling High School and a cherished member of our school community who passed away earlier this month. In 1985, Bob joined the district as a resource room assistant and assistant drama director. Transitioning to a teaching role in 1990, he contributed significantly in various co-curricular capacities involving himself with the variety show, ski, and chess clubs, and maintaining his ongoing position as an assistant drama director. Bob's enduring commitment to sharing his passion and knowledge of history and social studies with students is widely acknowledged among his Wheeling colleagues. A veteran and avid enthusiast of skiing and aviation, Bob dedicated his entire career to Wheeling High School. Bob's profound impact on students and colleagues resonates deeply. Please join me in observing a moment of silence to reflect on his dedicated service, passion for education, and the lasting legacy that he leaves behind.
Thank you. Next, we'll have approval of the amended agenda for tonight's meeting. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Palmer. Aye. Dustling.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and a second for the approval of the open and closed meetings for February 22nd, 2024, please?
So moved.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Dustling.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Palmer.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is board recognition. Dr. Rowe.
All right, tonight we're going to honor the exceptional efforts and unwavering dedication of Officer Katrina Kat Smolarczyk, Wheeling High School's resource officer. In an incident that occurred on February 12th of this year, Officer Smolarczyk played a pivotal role in a life-threatening situation where one of our school bus drivers faced a serious health crisis. When the emergency unfolded, Kat swiftly responded to the call, demonstrated remarkable coordination and leadership, arriving just 60 seconds after the fire department initiated CPR. She immediately recognized the need for support and offered to take over chest compressions when the firefighter became winded. Her quick thinking and selfless actions were instrumental in ensuring the driver's survival, as later confirmed by the hospital doctor, who reported that he only had a 2% chance of survival. Kat's role extended beyond the immediate crisis. She acted as the main liaison between various departments, ensuring seamless coordination between the fire and police departments, the school and district administration as well. Kat's extraordinary efforts on this day reflect her dedication to the safety and well-being of our community, and we are proud to recognize her as a true hero among us. A former art teacher who had the pleasure of speaking with her every time I go to Wheeling. She is equally present as the administration around the building, and a very recognizable and friendly figure for our students to connect with and form that important bond between the community police and our students to learn that they're a great resource for them and for us. So please invite Kat forward. Please join me in thanking her for her efforts.
Okay, before we do the Distinguished Service Award, we have members of the Wheeling Police Department here. Where are you? I know you're here. Yes, thank you. So we recognize your dedication to law enforcement, and we really appreciate everything you do for our community. Can you stand, please, so we can recognize you? I think, Mr. Mogi, you're up.
Thank you. Dr. Rowe, you please join us. Tonight we're honoring individuals who have truly made a difference in our schools and programs. These are people who selflessly give and routinely go the extra mile to make a positive impact in others' lives. Those being honored tonight have changed District 214's world for the better. They have dedicated themselves to unselfishly serving our schools and programs. Our students and staff have benefited beyond measure from their leadership, unfailing commitment to the task at hand, and tireless energy. We talk often in District 214 about preparing students for futures we can't yet imagine, and these volunteers have stepped in energetically to help make that happen. In your program, you can read their stories. These individuals serve, lead, coordinate, plan, go to bed late, and wake up early to make things happen, all without ever expecting special recognition. But they certainly deserve our praise. As a sign of our appreciation, the Board of Education school administrators will present these individuals with the 2023-2024 Distinguished Service Award. We are lucky in District 214 to have many tremendous volunteers who selflessly work to make a difference. This honor is given annually to a select few. Administrators, please accompany your honoree to the front and introduce them as well as yourself. We will continue with the program in the order listed in the program booklet. Honorees, at the end of the program, I'll have you come back up for a group photograph. So let's begin. Dr. Lopez, you're up first.
Is this on?
Dr. Lopez.
Say again? Oh, over here. Oh, thanks. That was good. Well, Kelly Behrens from Northwestern Community Hospital, now Endeavor Health, please come forward. Come on. Come on up. Right over here, Kelly. Here. So Kelly is a volunteer manager at Northwest Community Hospital, which is now Endeavor Health, and she has significantly expanded the District 214 students' access to internships at the hospital. She has paved the way for a significant number of students interested in healthcare as a career pathway to fill spots in the hospital's volunteer program, allowing them to gain 50 hours of authentic work experience in a healthcare setting, an important step in a student's career exploration process. As a result of Kelly's efforts, Northwest Community Hospital and Endeavor Health is now the district's single largest external internship partner, and we couldn't be more grateful. We can give her applause for that. Kelly is a veteran mentor, getting to know each student with her volunteer group personally and encouraging them to get involved to make the most out of their experience. Through their experiences working with Kelly, students have gained insight into possible future career paths, and many have returned to work with her in the volunteer program, both beyond the duration of the internship and even beyond their high school graduation. So thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Northwest Community Hospital and Endeavor Health, for demonstrating the true meaning of partnership. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Will Michael Connors please join me up front? So Mike is a dedicated advocate for community service. And he is involved in many different organizations. He actively volunteers for Friends of the Library. He served as a board member and continues to contribute to book sales. Mike has also donated blood 100 times. And is continuing to give. In community ed, Mike extends his support to citizenship applicants. Even when classes are not in session, he remains available to assist students. This past summer, whenever we needed help, we'd call him, and he'd come on in to help people with their test preparation. Prior to his retirement in 2012, Mike had a 37-year career with OSHA. So on behalf of community education, we thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Wardle. I'm the principal of Buffalo Grove High School, and it is a privilege to honor just an extraordinary human being and someone who's become a very good friend of mine, and that's Manal Omar. Manal has been with us for the last 6 years since her daughter, who's here with her tonight, began as a freshman. Her son is a senior about to graduate Buffalo Grove High School. She has served in so many capacities in the Buffalo Grove Parent Association the last 2 years as the president. And having her as a president is kind of like having another a full-time staff member. She is in the building all the time. She's always around. She's always doing stuff. And she always has amazing ideas to the point where now she says, Jeff, I'm so sorry, I have another idea. And she knows I love them. We always implement them. She's creative and she's innovative. She's so organized. And she is absolutely leaving Buffalo Grove a better place after her service for the last 6 years. And so just so deserve this award, and congratulations, Mano.
Hi, everyone. I am Paul Kelly, principal of Elk Grove High School. It's my great pleasure to introduce Dale Elsner, our recipient of the Distinguished Service Award. Just by being the parent of Dylan, Becca, and Jacob is sufficient to gain this honor, because that's 3 of the best kids that Elk Grove High School has ever seen. 2 of them are here tonight to honor their dad. But before he had any students at Elk Grove High School, Dale Elsner was having an impact on the culture of the school through his connections to our football program. When youth football was at its, maybe not its high point perhaps, in Elk Grove Village, Mr. Elsner was critically important in forging a relationship between the youth and the high school. This only continued further as his own students got older, and he connected with at least 5 Elk Grove High School football coaches over the years. I spoke to one of our past coaches, Miles Osei, today about Mr. Elsner, who couldn't be happier that you're being honored tonight. Our current coach, Danny O'Donnell, put in this nomination for Mr. Elsner for the wonderful impact he's had on our football program. He is truly the heart of our athletic programs at our school and is nothing but positive, one of the most warm and friendly people you will ever encounter, even on the sideline, even when we're down by 6 touchdowns. No problem. He's positive, he's uplifting, and he's encouraging all of us and our kids to reach their very best goals, and it's been an awesome time. He doesn't even have students at our school anymore, yet there he is, part of our programs, which is amazing. Mr. Elsner, we're so happy to have you as one of our partners. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Heath McFall. I'm the principal at Hersey High School, and it is my distinct honor to introduce to you Major General James Mukuyama. He's an amazing character who has been inspirational in the lives of so many students for the past 2 years at Hersey High School. The son of Japanese immigrants from a blue-collar upbringing, becoming the first Major General from Japanese descent in the U.S. Army. It's an incredible honor that I get to speak with you this year, and our students have got to meet you to learn more about service over self, patriotism, and how they can make their communities better. You're an incredible man, and an honor to shake your hand today and for all of these people to meet you. Thank you very much for everything.
Hi, my name is Frank Marindol. I'm the Associate Principal at Prospect High School, and it's my honor to recognize Dan Summers, a 6-year booster president for our athletic booster organization. It's funny, Dan started off as a guy that just started showing up at meetings, and one day we decided we needed to rebrand boosters, and he said, I'll make the logo, and he became the self-proclaimed logo guy, and the logo guy eventually just never stepped backwards, and he just then became the president. And for 6 years, Dan killed it, whether it be selling spiritware, whether it be reimagining our membership, and getting decals on cars everywhere, fleece blankets. I was just at a soccer game, there was about 30 of these fleece blankets there, and he's everywhere doing everything. Even when we had to kind of reimagine some stuff in 2020, they found ways to continue to support student athletes and all students, whether it be through book studies, whether it be through virtual training sessions, or just buying grocery gift cards for anyone. It's interesting. You look back and reflect, and I'm thankful for everything Dan's done, but really I'm most thankful for that logo. And because of that logo, he became the president and really became a fierce advocate and friend to every United Prospect. So thank you, Dan.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Megan Kelly, the incredibly proud principal of Rolling Meadows High School, and it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Mr. Arnie Quast, our Distinguished Service nominee for the year. Arnie Quast is in the spotlight for helping Rolling Meadows students, in particular, learn and grow in our aviation pathway. He is, and I'm going to read this so I get it correctly, he is a Boeing 787 captain line check pilot at United Airlines. He may have just flown in from Germany to be here with us this evening. How long have you been on the ground for?
2.5 hours.
There you go. And you made it. And we're just so pleased and just grateful for what he does for our kids. In my old role as a director in the district, I had the opportunity to oversee our aviation pathway, and I heard Arnie's name all of the time from our division heads talking about the impact he had on the program. And what I see in my building is that we have kids who are impacted because Arnie is helping them to see futures that they never saw for themselves. So thank you for all you do for our students and our community, and we are grateful for your partnership, Arnie.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Valerie Norris. I am the principal of the specialized schools here at Forest View Educational Center, and I'm very proud to introduce our Distinguished Service Award winner, Ms. Yolanda Delgala. A few words about her. The Good Neighbors Network, on the web and Facebook, everybody, is a nonprofit group created by Yolanda to help local families through the COVID-19 pandemic. Last year, the specialized schools started a food pantry and clothing closet. On a regular basis, she continues to bring in food and clothing to replenish necessary items. Last winter, Yolanda's organization gave a holiday gift card to all 200 of my Newcomer Academy students, showing kindness and grace to students brand new to the country who maybe didn't always see that. So thank you, Yolanda, for that. Don't cry, because I will too. If we have an emergency, we can always lean on Yolanda and the Good Neighbors Network. It's no wonder that 6 of my social workers nominated her for this, for this event this evening. Yolanda is also the proud parent of an amazing daughter who attends Vanguard School. You are an inspiration to many. Thank you.
Your daughter can do it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bradford Hubbard, and I'm super proud to be the principal at Wheeling High School. And with me tonight is a Wheeling parent and community member that has given an incredible amount to our school, even before he was a parent of a current freshman and incoming 9th grader. This is Joseph Vito. He's a local attorney in the area, and 5 years ago he reached out to our mock trial sponsor and asked if he could get involved with the mock trial program. And in those 5 years, Joe has been at virtually every single mock trial practice and competition that we've held. A couple years ago, we had a competition that we wanted to enter in at the last minute, and they said that the stipulation for our team to be able to compete was that we provided someone to also judge the event. And on a moment's notice, Joe dropped everything and showed up to be the judge at an event so that our kids could have the opportunity to compete. Over the 5 years, Joe has given countless hours of his time and expertise in instilling confidence in our students, but he has also invested other resources. He's provided formal wear for our students to appear in the courtroom. His law firm has a scholarship that is annually given to a Wheeling High School student, and without his time and dedication, our students wouldn't be where they are today. When he started with the program in 2019, we had 10 kids on our mock trial team, and in no small part to his dedication and service, we now have 30 students as part of our mock trial team. And so it's my honor and just pleasure to introduce Joe to all of you and to thank him for his service to our students at Wheeling High School.
Would our DSA honorees please join us for a group photo?
I was at Stevenson trying to salvage my umbrella. It was good. My daughter has welts all over her leg for all the shots she got. And we still lost even off it. Could have been third. I can't tell you how many times, how many times.
Good.
Me too.
Just need to stand up.
I can't play that.
And thank you. We will now begin student recognition, and would Board Member Fiorito please join us as well?
You're up.
While we celebrate the accomplishments of our outstanding students this evening, it's important to recognize that many of our students are committed to multiple activities, and some may not be present tonight due to unavoidable scheduling conflicts that arise from their dedication to these pursuits. Parents, after all students have been recognized, you'll have an opportunity to take additional photos with them against the backdrop in the Commons area, which is outside the boardroom, where the students will be waiting for you. To the audience, we ask if you could please hold your applause until all the recipients of each award have been presented. So will the following ILMEA honor students please come up as I call your name? For honors chorus from Rolling Meadows, Addison Woznicka. Honors band from Rolling Meadows, Otto Hammonds and Ismael Valdez. Honors Orchestra from Buffalo Grove, Sophie Whitmore. Unable to attend tonight from Hersey are Abigail Beck, Kevin Hart, and Annabelle Temple, who were selected for Honors Band, and Adam Blenderman and Bethany Reed, who were selected for the Honors Jazz Band. They'll be recognized in the upcoming meeting. Last fall, musicians from all District 214 schools competed in the Illinois Music Education Association District 7 audition process for the opportunity to qualify for the state convention in January. Based on their talents, 9 District 214 students were selected this year for the 2024 ILMEA Festival. They took part in another rigorous audition process and, based on their musicianship, were honored with the designation of Honors All-State status. Congratulations, students and directors Elliot Heil, Spencer Heil, Josh Stewart, and Caitlin Walsh. Will Kyron Whiting please come up? Kyron started his high school diving career by shattering the Rolling Meadows High School 6-dive record in his first dual meet. He followed that by breaking the school's 11-dive record multiple times each year since. This year, he broke 2 other schools' pools records and holds the new Mid-Suburban League diving record. He competed in the state meet the last 3 years, placing 4th last year and 3rd this year. Congratulations, Kyron, and coaches Jeff Thiemann and Monica Chiappetta. Will Marceli Okonski please come up? Marceli was voted an Illinois High School Soccer Coaches Association All-State Player this past fall for his work as our goalkeeper. He was chosen as one of the top 10 goalkeepers in the state of Illinois, and his work in a penalty shootout earned Rolling Meadows High School its first regional championship in 10 years. He is the first IHSSCA All-State player from Rolling Meadows High School since 2006. Congratulations, Marcelli and Coach Brett Olson. Will Elk Grove's Grant Madel, Hersey's Max Mohammedalev, and Abdullah Kamakov. Prospects Jackson Panovich, and Wheeling's Jasmine Renee, please come up. Grant Madel is Elk Grove High School's first IHSA All-State wrestler in 40 years. He contributed to a tremendous season that saw Elk Grove earn 6 IHSA regional championships, second place in the IHSA regional as a team, and 3 IHSA state qualifiers. Hersey High School had 2 wrestlers compete in the individual state tournament. Wrestler Max Mohamedov took 3rd place in the 132-pound weight class, and teammate Abdullah Kakimov also took 3rd place at the 126-pound weight class. Prospect High School's Jackson Penovich had a dominating season this year as a sophomore at the 190-pound weight class. He finished with a 47-3 record with 22 pins and 19 tech falls. He amassed an average of 5 takedowns per match while only allowing 1 takedown by any opponents in Illinois. Jackson was also a 3rd-place finisher at the prestigious Fargo 16U National Tournament in both freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling. Wheeling High School's Jasmine Renee dominated the girls' 190-pound weight class with a remarkable 38-2 record, securing a 3rd-place finish on the state podium. Her impressive season included 22 pinfall victories, 116 takedowns and triumphs in 6 individual tournaments, including regional and sectional championships. Jasmine's achievements extend to becoming the 16U girls freestyle state champion and placing 7th in the nation at the national tournament in Fargo, North Dakota. Congratulations, Grant, Max, Abdullah, Jackson, and Jasmine, coaches Dan Vargas, Ashton Brown, Joseph Rupslack, Tony Piltaver, and Charlie Curran. Congratulations to all. Will Jane Forsberg, Jessica Getz, Evelyn Gradick, Grace Johnson, Jenna Lazara, Gianna Mazzola, and Sabrina Nemchek please come up. Team members Kelsey Ernst and Anna McCarthy could not be in attendance tonight. The Hersey High School girls gymnastics team achieved an extraordinary feat this year, clinching titles as MSL champions, regional champions, sectional champions, and ultimately emerging as state champions, breaking a 40-year streak without a gymnastics state championship. An outstanding individual performance, Sabrina Nemchek secured a 2nd place in 4, 15th on bean, into the state championship in the all-around vault and bars events. Congratulations to the Hersey girls gymnastics team, coach Sharon Barrett, and assistant coaches Brad Kotra, Kurt Waller, and June Yoon. Will Julia Korzin and Katie Ruzak please come up? In her sophomore season, Elk Grove High School's Julia Korzin became a valuable addition to the girls' bowling team. Through her diligent efforts and commitment to improvement, she swiftly transitioned from JV to varsity within a few weeks. Julia secured a 3rd-place medal at the IHSA state meet. Katie Ruzak of Prospect High School secured top 15 finishes in every competition and clinched victory in 2 individual tournaments. For the fourth consecutive year, Katie claimed the highest average, including the titles for high game and high series in the MSL conference. In the postseason, she dominated, finishing first individually at regionals. At state, Katie started in 5th place and finished in 3rd place. Congratulations, Julia, Katie, and coaches Tim Riddell and Ashley Mahana. Will Buffalo Grove High School students Angelina Bachu, Megan Beerhide, Sophia Gagliano, Eliana Morales, and Carly Normally. John Hersey High School's Eleni Russo. And Prospect High School's Alex Stragos, please join us. The Illinois High School Cheerleading Coaches Organization and the Illinois Cheerleading Coaches Association recognize the outstanding achievements and exemplary skills of cheerleaders throughout Illinois, and only a select few are named to the All-State team. Cheerleaders are selected to the All-State team through a rigorous evaluation process that showcases the dedication, passion, and athleticism of these exceptional competitors. This distinction represents the pinnacle of cheerleading excellence in Illinois. Congratulations, Angelina, Megan, Sophia, Eliana, Carly, Eleni, and Alex, and coaches Jeffrey Siegel, Will Hansen, and Shelby Rosen. Congratulations. Will Isaac Padua please join us? Junior Isaac Padua led the Elk Grove High School chess team and earned a medal at the IHSA state chess meet with an impressive record of 6-0-1, achieving a score of 6 5/7 points. Isaac is also a captain of the Elk Grove Scholastic Bowl and participates on the boys volleyball team. Congratulations, Isaac, and Coach Peter Wang. Will Prospect students Issa Gabby, Emily Caravello, Kelly Jordan, Dylan May, and Anna Parisi please join us. Junior Issa Gabby placed 5th in the IHSA State Speech Tournament in the category for Original Comedy. In Original Comedy, competitors write a script consisting of multiple characters to tell a story. They then perform each of the roles using different voices and physicalities to differentiate each character. Senior Emily Carvalho placed 2nd in the IHSA Speech Tournament in the Prose category. Prose reading is a speech event in which the competitor performs an oral interpretation of a selection of literature. Seniors Emily Carvalho and Kelly Jordan were named state champions in the IHSA speech tournament in the category of dramatic duet acting. Dramatic duet acting is one of 2 partner events in speech. Senior Anna Parisi and sophomore Dylan May were named IHSA speech state champions in the humorous duet acting category. Humorous duet acting is the other partner event in speech. Congratulations to Issa, Emily, Kelly, Dylan, and Anna and Coach Michael Piccoli. Congratulations. Deanna Vergen, please join us. Hersey High School junior Deanna Vergen received all-state recognition during the Illinois Congressional Debate Association state finals on February 24th. Deanna is a 3-year veteran and co-captain of the Hersey debate team. The all-state team is composed of the top 10 students in Illinois as determined by the number of Best Speaker nominations received over the course of 5 months. Congratulations, Deanna and Coach Tom Smith. Congratulations.
Uh-oh, broke that. Tonight we had an opportunity to see community members who have really stepped up to help our schools and our students do a better job. And then we've seen students who have gone to the extra effort in a wide variety of subject matters, who have really pushed to be in a place of excellence in our schools and in their fields, and all of that, all of the work that our students do takes that community support in order to do it. It takes the teachers, the coaches, and most importantly, their parents, their family members who pack the lunches, who make sure the gear is clean and organized, who get them to the practices on time, who go to the events to watch everything they're doing, who support them in their great efforts and in their failures along the way, who keep them going and keep them trying. We cannot, as a district, achieve success without the support network that our students have. So we have a tradition here, except we've changed a little bit in that we've told people as you get your award, you can go take photos. We typically will ask our parents, grandparents, family members, and other people to stand and be recognized for a round of applause for the work they do supporting our students. So if I have anyone left here in the audience?
Okay, come on.
But,
Just stand.
but I feel it's so important that we all take a second to think the great achievement of our students is based on the great achievement of their network and their families. Thank you very much. I hope you have a good evening.
Okay, we're going to take a few minutes here. If you, we'd love to have you stay for the board meeting, but we'll take a few minutes if you'd like to leave. Have a good evening. Oh, good. Okay. You're right. And we're at the point of the meeting for public comments, and no one has signed up. That's okay. No one has signed up, so we're going to move on to the superintendent's report.
All right. Thank you. Well, Ms. Gordon, your audience left, but but tonight, I'm really pleased to introduce you to Corey Gordon, who's going to come and share a little bit about our strategic planning process. But in doing so, and I'll go ahead and invite you to the podium, but in doing so, as she gets set up, I just kind of want to run over some of the highlights and set the stage here. Early in the school year, the board asked that we initiate an RFP, request for proposal process, to find a strategic planning partner to guide the district through that process. I'm pleased to share with you that following the RFP, we had 14 potential partners respond, 8 of which we invited for interviews. Mr. Maggi, Mr. Fiorito, and myself were that interview panel. And during the interview process, we evaluated all of the partners on how well they addressed the needs that were outlined in the RFP, specifically how they addressed our expectations that they seek creative solutions to capturing the voices of our communities in an inclusive manner, how they responded to our request to build a plan that will allow us to cast a vision not only 5 years in the future like a traditional strategic plan, but 15 plus years in the future where we can really reshape what education can and does look like at a high school level. And then what strategies do they rely on to support implementation of the plan? This was an important piece as the district has not had a strategic plan for quite some time, and there's a great degree of capacity building that is needed across the district and our leaders to ensure that the plan is not a plan that lives on a shelf, but it's one that we put into action and we give air to. And then finally, we needed a person that we felt good with as a partner that had the fit factor. So this proved to be more challenging for many of our potential partners than you might think, as we learned as they have a process that they follow, capturing the community's voice and process rather than in traditional survey methods. Fortunately for us, Deliver Ed was in our interview pool because they not only addressed all of the needs that were laid out in the RFP beautifully, but they gave all the 3 of us the confidence in them as a potential strong partner far beyond the 5 years that is before you tonight seeking approval. Therefore, the selection committee unanimously selected Corey and her team as our recommended partner. So I'm pleased to introduce you to her now, and she's going to guide us through what the strategic planning process will look like with Deliver Ed. Again, I welcome Corey, and then at the conclusion of her presentation, I'm sure she'll be happy to answer any of your questions, as will Patrick, Frank, or myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Superintendent. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Corey, can you move your microphone up?
I can. There you go. That's a tough act to follow. Not quite as exciting, strategic planning, as all that amazing work that's happening in your district. But I will say I'm really grateful that I got to be here to witness that, because so much of strategic planning, as Dr. Rowe mentioned, is about the relationship and the collaboration, and being able to become a part of the community and really embrace the strengths and build upon the strengths of the district. And so there's clearly many of those here, and I just got a taste of that this evening. So I'm really grateful that I was able to partake in this evening's celebration. So as Dr. Rose said, my name is Corey Gordon. I run an organization called Deliver Ed. We are based in Washington, D.C., but we have partners all across the country. And we primarily use an approach called delivery, as our name implies. Delivery is all about supporting leaders across the education landscape across the country to think differently about how to deliver results for students. So a lot of our work is about taking the brilliant ideas that leaders such as Dr. Rowe and his team have and helping translate those into impact and results for students. And we do that primarily by asking these 4 seemingly simple, but deceptively so, questions, which is, what are we trying to do as a district? How are we planning to do it? At any given moment, how are we going to know if we're on track to getting there? And if we're not on track, what are we going to do about it? So as Dr. Rowe mentioned, a lot of our work is about saying, yes, we care about the plan. Yes, we want a pretty plan that we can put on our website. And we want to make sure that that plan, because the minute we write it, it's out of date, right? We all know things are changing all the time, especially these days. And so we need a plan that's adaptable and flexible. And we need systems and routines that are going to help us make sure that we keep that plan alive. And that's that third and fourth question, helping us figure that out. So in our proposal, we talk a lot about the work to build the plan with stakeholder input and engagement, but also the work to implement the plan and ensure that the team has what it needs to be successful long after our engagement is done. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit about what that looks like. My clicker is not working. So this is my team. As I mentioned, we are a small but nimble team, and we work with partners all across the country, and we would be excited to be part of the team here at District 214. You can keep going. So one thing that's really important to us is, as I mentioned, not just the plan itself, but the capacity building work that we would do as a result of this plan. So sometimes you'll see a team that comes in and they listen and they learn, and then they go off and they write the plan and they hand it to a district. That is not our approach. Our approach is much more of a collaborative and facilitated approach, so that what we're doing is really helping you all build a plan, right, for what you see as the future of District 214. Our job is to bring our expertise, our structure, our time and capacity, and our knowledge to the process, but to really make sure that this is your plan, that you feel ownership over it, that you're excited about it, and that you have the skills and the knowledge and the strategic ability to actually make that plan a reality here in your district. So in addition to the outputs, which would of course include that vision and that plan, the materials you would use to share with all these wonderful stakeholders you have, an internal plan that you can use to actually keep track and change over time and update over time, and those routines, those are the outputs. But more important than that is the internal capacity that we would build in this process. So we really work alongside the leaders at the district, especially in the case of a district where they're not used to this kind of work, this kind of thinking. Our job is really to help build that capacity within the district. So we would do a lot of workshopping, a lot of thinking about how we use data for improvement. There's a lot of data already available, but let's make sure we're using it well. We would also work around that routines piece. So how do we make sure that when we finish our plan, we then start setting up regular times to dust that plan off, ask how we're doing, and adjust course along the way. So it's really about that dynamic ability of the plan. Here's what the progress monitoring and plan development process would look like. And again, as any good plan, this is adaptable and flexible as things evolve over the course of the next several years and months. But we would start by a deep review. I'm going to talk through all of these in a minute. A deep review of where we are as a district. So as I mentioned, I already got to see some of the great strengths you have in your students and your staff. We want to build on that. We want to build a plan that's grounded in the reality of where you are now. So that first phase is all about figuring that out. Then we set the plan itself. What are our goals? What are our measures of success? And then we design the implementation portion of that plan, right? Thinking about what is it actually going to take to make it happen? What resources do we need? What are realistic but ambitious timelines for making it happen? And then finally, what are the routines, as I mentioned before, that we're going to use to update the plan regularly and keep it alive? Our process also involves regular updates and refreshes, because as we're building a 5-year plan, you all know a lot can change in 5 years. Just think about what we didn't know 5 years ago. And so we would be working alongside the team to come back annually and refresh the plan and say, how's it going? Where are we meeting some of these expectations? Maybe where are we falling short that we need to adjust our plan? You can go to the next slide. So in that first phase, that review, this is where a lot of the stakeholder engagement work lies. And I'm so excited that you clearly have stakeholders who are eager to be involved and engaged in your district. We know, though, that there's a lot of voices that aren't obviously here this evening, and some voices that are harder to reach. And so we would work with the district to figure out a really clear stakeholder engagement plan to try to gather input around what it looks like right now, where are we as a district, and what's our vision for the future? What is it going to take to serve and meet the needs of all the various folks who are part of our district? So we have a process and an approach for doing that. We have this capacity wheel you see on the right, which essentially distills all the work, which we all know is a lot of work, of a school district, an effective school district, into 16 elements. And those 16 elements articulate, we have a rubric that we use to articulate what strong looks like in those areas and what weak looks like. We do an assessment. We build the sort of shared vision among the team about where we are, and then we use all of that stakeholder input to actually set our priorities and say, okay, where do we want to be? If this is where we are now, where do we want to be? So that's the next phase that I'll talk about in a minute. The way we gather input, so this again would be a collaborative process to figure out what that stakeholder plan is, but we have lots of different ways we can do this work. I'm a big believer in face-to-face, so we would do a fair amount of focus groups and interviews. You can see some examples of who we might be interested in speaking with, but of course there may be other folks you believe are important to have in the process. Of course, we would look at existing data, documents that you have in order to understand deeply the current context and situation in the district. Next slide. And then we would try to include some out-of-the-box approaches, and a lot of our work in recent years has been, thankfully, about how do we actually get more student voice in strategic planning. So often, district strategic plans are written without any student input, and really, strategic plans are about how do we serve students better. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to write a plan for people we're trying to serve better if we don't ask them what they need. And it's clear that you all have some fantastic students here, so we'd want to make sure we have that student voice represented. So we have some work we've done around shadowing students to actually understand the student experience. Empathy interviews are another great tool for understanding student and family experience. We also do a lot of place-based surveys, so you can have QR codes. Sounds like your athletics are pretty strong. Parents and families come to athletic events. We can put QR codes at athletic events to gather input that way. Town halls, of course, which we're all familiar with. And then there are some other more innovative technological approaches you can use to stakeholder engagement as well. So we've got familiarity with all those various approaches, and we'd work to build a system and a plan that works for you all. Phase 2 then, after we have all of that great input, we have to take it and distill it into that architecture or that outline for our plan, right? So the second phase is all about what is out there and thinking about the vision of where we want to be. So as Dr. Rowe mentioned, a lot of strategic plans start just with the sort of near-term vision. I'm excited to hear about the work District 214 is eager to do around a longer-term vision. So we would want to think about what that vision could be. What are some of the things we know are coming? And then what are some of the things we don't even anticipate? I think I heard a phrase earlier about preparing students for jobs that don't exist right now, which is very true. And with the advent of AI and how that's changing everything, right? We know some about what's going to shift, and we don't know a lot about what's going to shift. So we would spend some time really doing a scan around what is out there, what do we know, what are some assumptions we can make about the shifts that are coming in education, and how can we be prepared for those shifts. If you turn the slide. This is supposed to animate, but it's not doing that. So if we think about it, we would start from the core. What do we know to be true about our district? What are our core values and our purpose? And then we would build out from there, right? How do we think about what our core values are? What is our sort of consistent identity that's going to be there no matter what? Who are we as a district? Then after that, we build around that with some of those goals and vivid descriptions of what we think the future is likely to be, and what things will look like once we have achieved these big, hairy, audacious, that's what BHAG stands for, big, hairy, audacious goals. That's things like, what do we want our students to look like? What do we want our staff to look like and achieve in these long-term visions? And then we would kind of build the plan to align to that longer-term vision. Phase 3 then, once we have that longer-term vision, distills that 5-year vision, right? Let's think about, on the path to that long-term vision, what do we need to do in the next 5 years? This is where we set the traditional kind of goals, metrics that you're familiar with, and strategies, so that we have a really clear framework and outline for our plan. We would also engage stakeholders once we have a draft of this plan, of this process, an outline. We would engage stakeholders again to get their feedback. Are we getting it right? Is this responsive to what you've shared with us? And there's still room, of course, this is a very iterative process. There's still room to make those shifts along the way. This is an example. I know it's small. You have a copy in front of you. This is an example of a school district architecture from a school district in Delaware, where they've distilled their work into 5 clear goals. Each goal has a lead, which is also very important. A lot of this process is about accountability and ensuring that we have a plan that, while we all own the plan, there's clear ownership about pieces of the plan, so that we can make sure that Dr. Rowe has somebody to ask about each of the goals in the plan. How's the work going? Are we on track? If we're not on track, what do we need to shift? And then a set of clear strategies for how we hope to get there. And then in the 4th phase, we really put the meat on the bones. So sometimes you'll see strategic plans where they have lots of pretty pictures, lots of lofty goals, lots of nice words, but no real plan for how to get there, right? No milestones, no timelines, no targets. We believe that if you're going to try to really make it happen, you've got to be specific, right? So we would take some time with the district leaders to flesh out, what does it actually look like to implement each of these strategies? Who's going to lead it? What are the timelines on which we're planning to implement it? How are we going to know? What are the metrics we're going to use to define success of this strategy? What are the resources? That's a big question, required, and what are some of the barriers and risks we anticipate so that we can plan ahead for those? So this fourth phase of planning is really about the meat on the bones, which allows for a comprehensive plan, but not too long, right? I always say beware of fat plans. A comprehensive, but not too long, just right plan that allows for us to monitor that plan, because that's where the rubber really meets the road, is once we've written the plan, how are we actually going to make it happen? So in the last phase, I skipped a slide. In this, this shows you sort of who's involved in each of these phases, right? So you've got a steering committee that's kind of includes several key stakeholders, plus the cabinet, the superintendent and his cabinet. That expands out to a group of goal leads, I mentioned before, people who are accountable for each of those goals we identified, leaders of each of the strategies, your broader stakeholders who are engaged at various points along the process, and then finally a delivery lead, a person within the district who's really going to be on point for that implementation part of the strategic plan. So the last phase is about those progress monitoring routines. So this is an example of a district where they have 5 goals you can see listed on the left-hand side here, and they rotate through each of their goals monthly to provide an update to the superintendent and twice a year to the board. And of course, we'd build a calendar that works for you all around the progress of their goals. And what's important about these, we call them stock takes. You can call them whatever you decide to call them. But the important part is we're looking at the plan, we're having honest conversations about progress, we're looking at data, and we're figuring out not just a dog and pony show type conversation, right? These internal stock takes are more than just sitting up and reporting. They're really about problem solving and action. So I bring my data to the table as a goal lead and I say, here's what we've been able to achieve, here's where we're stuck, here's where we're struggling. Superintendent, this is what we need from you to get back on track. These are some decisions, some ideas we have, and we actually do the work there in those stock takes to keep the ball rolling, right? So this is my favorite part of the strategic planning process, is the work that actually happens once the plan is done, is how do you actually live it out, right? How do you make it a real thing in all of our classrooms across our district? And so these stock takes are critical for that. And we have a really great tool that we use that we would adapt, again, for your context, that allows us to create a dashboard, essentially, a strategic planning dashboard that shows at a glance how we're doing with implementation. Are we on track with our metrics? Are we meeting our milestones on the timeline we specified? And qualitative information too, because we know not everything can be measured in quantitative data. Where are we? What are we seeing in classrooms? How are we making progress toward those outcomes and those that success that we defined early in the plan? And then you use this dashboard to drive those conversations about progress, both with the superintendent and also with all of you as board members. This is a very, again, small text. You can see it in your printout. This is an outline of what the work plan could look like. Of course, we need to adjust this based on the date that we actually launch, but you can see that the work goes far beyond the completion of the plan and includes that regular update, annual refresh, as well as coaching and capacity building support as you start to do the implementation work. This is some examples. They are clickable in the digital version, but some examples of other districts that we've worked with, and some examples of their public-facing plans that are on their website. Again, each of them has an accompanying internal document that's more detailed, that includes the nitty-gritty of timelines, data points, et cetera, that may not be in their public version. And this is a sampling of some of the districts and partners we've worked with across the country previously. So happy to answer any questions as you all think about this work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Fiorito, do you want to chime in about this since you were on the committee?
Yeah, I do. So I was in River Trails 26. I was part of one strategic plan, and the first one, when I first started, I was not part of the strategic plan, but I was part of the school board at the time. We struggled a lot with getting the feedback, and that was the thing that, of the 8, and a lot of the 8 vendors that we looked at were pretty good. They all had some great ideas and some good stuff, but this one stood out for me because the focus for me was really how do we get the input from our stakeholders. And with Dr. Rowe talking about not only a short-term vision, but a long-term vision, that would mean that we would need to go out to the feeder districts and get their input. You know, we have parents that might be third, fourth, fifth graders. What do they expect from District 214? Because they're our long-term stakeholders.
Right.
And there was a lot of what Deliver Ed presented regarding the out-of-the-box thinking that I was very impressed with. Because what we've struggled with, at least in my former district in D214, both post and pre-COVID, was we were really focused on a goal of community engagement. We just felt like whenever we had board meetings or we had any type of situation where we needed the input of all our stakeholders, we pretty much got crickets. And so this was, for me, one of the biggest elements was getting out there and getting the input that we need. Because we just can't afford to have the people that, you know, pat us on the back and agree with us. Right. That's not going to make our district any better with our strategic plan. We need to have voices, all kinds of voices, because you never know what some great ideas or things we might be missing. And I think with Delivery Ed, going out and getting their input the way we can, I thought that was a big part for me. And the other thing I thought of as well was it seemed like this one and a few others offered a lot of flexibility, because we know what curveballs COVID threw for everybody. And you never know what could be coming down the road. And it could be something from the state, it could be something from the federal government, but we have to make ourselves available that when we do have a strategic plan, that if we need to pivot, we have a tool or a system or a process that allows us to do that. So that's pretty much the comments I have on Delivery Ed.
Thank you.
Board members? Lenny, you want to go?
If Frank, to expound on, tell me about the flexibility. What impressed you about the flexibility?
They had some tools. You want to go back to that slide?
Sure. You speaking about the progress monitoring piece?
No, the input from community engagement.
Community input, yeah. If you go back to the, keep going. Sorry, I wish my clicker was.
It's okay.
Keep going, keep going, keep going. Maybe one more? Nope, another.
Okay, there we go.
Some of these, yep.
Okay, go back one. There we go. So, so everybody knows, you know, surveys. We've got 2 surveys out there right now, one for parents and guardians and one for 5 essential surveys. And if I were to guess, I bet both of them we're going to be disappointed because of the percentage of people that actually respond to it. So it had to be go beyond that. I'm a big fan of town halls. I really am, because I think it's a situation where you can get a lot of participation. People feel it's a more uncomfortable environment, doesn't totally follow the Robert rules, and you can actually have exchanges of just, you know, better listening. I love the idea about shadowing students. That's one I've never seen before, where we can actually shadow a student and get feedback.
Board members have done it in some of my districts, actually.
Yeah. We can sometimes shadow classrooms and be in a classroom, but to shadow a student and get more input, that would be great. And again, you know, shadowing students could even go back to the feeder districts as well. Targeting empathy interviews, I like that. And then the last 2, the thought exchange or the Padlet, I never even heard of either one, but I did look up the thought exchange afterwards, and I thought, that's pretty interesting.
Thought exchange is really cool, yeah.
So I hope that answers some of your questions, Lenny.
Anything else, Mr. Walker?
No, just a quick follow-up. So I know all about the tools and everything. It's a great presentation, but when we flex in the middle, what was your observation on that?
It just seemed like it would allow us to be able to pivot. And some of the other ones, I thought they were not as flexible. They were pretty much hardened. Okay. And that was, you know, I guess a lot of it is comparing it to some of what the other vendors had to offer. There's some things I did like about some of the other vendors, but in my opinion, these 2 were the top notch for me, was the community engagement and getting the input that we need to do a strategic plan, and the second one was the flexibility.
And I can add to that. Mr. Fiorillo asked each of our the vendors, you know, how they would approach the unexpected curveball. Yeah. And you know, I think they all kind of said the same thing, but I think in generally the approach is it's got to be, the plan has to be broad enough. It's really about we're setting the conditions in which we learn and work, so that when a major curveball comes, we're broad enough that it wouldn't completely throw us off track. We may have to pause some of the work because something becomes more important. Sure. And I think that's where the annual strategies and goal settings really come into play, but the plan itself will be so big and broad that it's really about concepts and learning conditions that we're trying to achieve. The annual measures may just year to year have to adjust a little bit more dramatically depending on what world throws at us.
Yeah.
So would it be safe to say that as we adjust as we learn rather than a program out of a box, so to speak? God bless you.
100%.
Okay.
I think it's all really built around kind of a plan, do, study, act kind of a mindset of.
That's right, a continuous
we
improvement.
cast a vision, we set goals. Did we achieve our goals? If not, let's adjust and try again.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You good?
Yep, I'm good.
Question?
Mr. Hyndman, anything? Nope. Ms. Rao?
Yes. First of all, thank you for coming today and presenting to us. I think we all really appreciate hearing this firsthand.
Sure.
Well, while we're on this slide here, shadowing the students as a parent and as a board member, I do get concerned. How do you shadow? Could you explain a little more about that?
Yeah, so essentially what that would mean was in a high school, right, you would have a parent, or excuse me, a staff member or perhaps a board member follow that student all day through all their classes, sit next to them in their classes, see what they're experiencing during a day. And what I've seen in districts where they do that is they might realize something about the way the schedule is structured that just actually doesn't really make sense, or is making it hard for this student to get from one class to another, for example, right? Or to see that there's something about the way that lunch is structured and that the lunchroom is set up that's making it difficult for this student to make connections with other students. So there's something about actually experiencing what a student experiences during the course of a day that can really open your minds to things that you hadn't even considered.
I think that's an excellent approach. I really do. What about the disruption for the student?
Yeah.
And how are the students selected? Because I assume that you would get a broad
You'd want to pick and this is not, so you wouldn't shadow every student, to be clear, right? Some of these processes are meant, like a survey, for example, to get a broad sampling, right, as cast a wide net, and others are more to get a deeper understanding, like an empathy interview or a shadowing experience is not to shadow every student in the district, but to shadow a few students that will tell you something that you can assume is applicable to more than just that one student, right? And so the shadowing, you would want to think about different types of students, right? So obviously tonight we saw a lot of your best and brightest students, your most successful, sort of definition, right? Most successful, I use in quotes because there's lots of ways to be successful, students. But you'd want to select a student, for example, a student with disabilities, right? Or maybe a student who is new to the district in the 11th grade, right? Or maybe one of your newcomers. I heard someone speaking about newcomers, right? So you'd want to be intentional about choosing students in different schools and with different sort of profiles to see how that experience changes. And essentially then you bring your notes together and you say, well, here's what my student's experience was like during the day. Wow, my student at this school, with a different GPA had a completely different experience. Let's think about why that might be and what does that tell us about what we are doing, right? So the point of shadowing a student is not actually about the student at all. It's about what we as a system and as a district are doing to support or not support that student and uncovering some of those barriers that honestly might be hidden otherwise.
Okay. All right. You also mentioned the support throughout the implementation. I do like the idea that the district is more involved in developing the plan as opposed to you take the data back and present the plan to us. Because I do believe that it's important those who design it will be the ones implementing it. It's more likely that it'll get implemented as it was designed.
Right.
So how do you, once you've gathered your data, how frequently do you meet with the team here and going forward? And one of my last questions will be, how do you prevent people from just checking the box?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say, if you spoke to any of the folks we've worked with before, they'll tell you we're not a check the box kind of group. We don't really allow that, mostly because people, I think most people, let's be honest, when they hear strategic planning are like, oh yeah, this again, right? We really try to change that dynamic and to help people see that this actually is the work, right? It's going to be, yes, it's going to be more work while we build it. There's no way around that. And if we do it right, it will be the way you do your work going forward, right? So we try to make sure that it doesn't feel like, oh, that strategic plan we wrote that summer, that was really annoying. It's, oh, yeah, that's the work I'm doing. That's the most important work. We believe in this, right? So that's part of how we set it up and how we try to facilitate it. And the question about how often, we have a workshop schedule, and again, it's flexible because it doesn't always go according to plan, but we would set up a regular check-in time with the superintendent and this person that would hopefully be leading at the district, and then we would have workshops. There's a series, a cadence of them. If you go to the work plan slide, you'll see sort of an example of how that looks, but pretty regularly, certainly in the beginning, as we build it out. And then again, once we start those routines, we're alongside kind of coaching both the superintendent and those goal leads on how to use those conversations about progress and what that actually looks like. That's the part in my mind that really changes the way a district works, is when you see, I'm not going to stand up and try to make myself look good with a lot of shiny charts. I'm actually going to dig into the work and get honest about where we are and really try to figure out what we can do differently. Great question.
I have one more question. Do you by chance, you talk about the 5-year plan, and I think you mentioned about a 15-year projection that I'm curious to see where education goes, especially coming out of the recent years. Do you have an example of something that you could say from prior work that someone thought, hey, here's somewhere we want to go, or something, because I commonly ask when I talk with educators, where are we going? What is it going to look like by the time our students are teaching or have their kids in school? Anything off the top that you'd like to share, and if not, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's something I think a lot about, and I read a lot about, and I'm certainly not a fortune teller, so I can't tell you what's coming. However, I think there is a lot to be said about, and part of the reason I encourage student engagement and student empathy interviews is because I think we have to shift. I know we have to shift. If we look across the nation at the chronic absenteeism crisis, for example, we want to blame it on a lot of things, but at the end of the day, most students don't find relevance in school on a daily basis. They come to school, they don't feel like it's meant for them, it's not interesting, it's not engaging. I'm not saying that I know this to be true about District 214. I'm sure there are places where that's not true, but my hunch is that some pockets within the district, there are places where students come and they say, this isn't for me. It doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel like it's getting me closer to anything. And so for me, I think one shift we know, regardless of what happens with AI, regardless of what happens with, personalized learning, all these other kind of buzzwords, we know that we have to change the way we do teaching to be more student-centered. Because that's, one, going to give students a better learning experience, but it's also going to keep them connected. And I think I'm excited about the work you all are doing already with career-connected learning and the pathways, because I think that's a big piece of it, for sure. But there was just a study I read yesterday about how most high school students nationwide are saying they're less interested in college, they're more curious about what careers there are. And that's not to say we need to get rid of college, but we need to make sure students understand how college is a pathway to a career for them. And so to me, that starts in the classroom with making sure that their daily learning experience feels relevant and engaging and meaningful to them. So I think that's a big question for me, is how do we do that? Not in small bits, but in really massive transformation in who's running the classroom, right? Think if you've seen like a Socratic seminar type style, right? Some more of that kind of work, I think, is a direction that we're going to see moving forward.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Nelson. I'm certainly in favor of doing this process, but I do have a couple of questions.
Sure.
This appears to be about a 16 to 17-month process. And there's one project leader and 2 consultants that will be dealing with us. That sounds like a load. That sounds like a pretty good load. The other thing is, we have a multitude of things that we're doing in the district that we've started, and projects that are taking our staff's attention directly. When I look at page 14 and the number of leaders and things that are going on there, it caused me to wonder, is something not going to be going on that we're currently doing now because we're taking over this process, or are we just going to load it up on the staff again to do this?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with your second question, because I think that's really important. part of the reason we do the intensive review is to understand what is underway. So a lot of times when we write a strategic plan or work with a district to write a strategic plan, much of what's in the strategic plan is about doing what we're already doing, but better, with more intentionality, with a better focus on implementation. It's not about every strategy being brand new. So I absolutely agree with you. I started as a classroom educator, and that was before all of the things that classroom educators are going through now. We cannot just implement a bunch of new stuff on top of what's already happening. We need to take assessment of where we are, what's going well, what's having impact, and maybe what's not. I imagine there are some things we might need to stop doing, but for the most part, I think in most districts, what we need is a plan that actually builds on what we're already doing, makes it better, makes it more impactful, rather than brings a bunch of shiny new objects to the table, because you're right, our educators certainly don't have the capacity for that. So we would absolutely do that from that standpoint. And then to your question about my team, we are small, that is true. I think the benefit of being small is we are a consistent team. So I think even though we're small, you know who you're going to have on your team. We're intentional about how we budget our capacity to make sure that we reserve enough time for your team. And we have systems and tools and processes to make sure that our team can manage that over time.
And obviously, as for our team, it is going to be a heavy lift. We know that, and it's one that our intent is not to overburden those who are already busy and working really hard for the district. This is going to be our priority. So some of the things may slide down on that priority list where this rises to the top. This is my top priority.
Well, that makes sense to me, because these people got a load already.
Sure.
And somehow or other, something's got to slip, or something's got to move down in priority or something like that.
And I'll say also, while it is a 16-month process, the level of effort is not consistent for that whole 16 months, right? In the beginning, when we're doing the stakeholder input, that's a heavy lift. When we're starting to do the detailed planning, that's going to take some time. But once we build the plan, the progress monitoring it's not a consistent heavy lift on every person every month. It's sort of, we share the load.
I understand. One last question.
Sure.
Has your company had any data breaches at all?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Could you go to the slide that has the timeline?
Toward the end.
No, I thought it was in the beginning.
Which timeline? The detailed
It's,
one or the
when it starts in
phases?
spring 2024.
Oh, yeah,
goes-
that's at the beginning. This is the more detailed one, but if you go back to the beginning.
It's probably way in the beginning.
It was like the second slide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that one, okay. So we had your presentation tonight, and we'll vote on this next month. So we're going to start in April, and it looks like we're going to finish a year and a half from now.
I think our goal would be the June 25 board
Have the
meeting
plan.
to have it approved.
That's right.
Okay.
So the plan itself is about a one-year process, and honestly, you can make that faster if you need to. I'm a big believer that you don't, like an 80% of the way plan and starting on the routines to refine the plan is better than spending 2 years on a plan to just to
But
get
again,
that
this was one of those areas where Deliver Ed met us where we were, because we specifically asked, because originally our intent was not to begin this until July, and I believe, I'm sure maybe Mr. Fiorito, can we start sooner? Why wait if we can get this done in the spring in terms of the process? So that's why it says in April start. So this is actually, we're in a really strong position to begin now so that we can hit the ground running, and maybe that longer timeline allows us to pace out the work so that burden doesn't feel so heavy.
That's right. And it allows you to finish in time for all your school leaders who are going to be doing planning next summer to have the district plan to align their individual school plans with, right? So if you finish, ideally, we would have enough for them to go on even in like February, March of next year, and then they could use that to inform their school level planning that they're doing to ensure it's aligned with the district vision.
Okay. And I asked Dr. Rowe if he had contacted anyone that had Deliver Ed. You want to talk about that?
I spoke with, Deliver Ed is actually actively working with an Illinois school district out west, Belvedere District 100, and I've some prior contacts with Belvedere based on my prior life before coming to District 214. Spoke with Dave Carson, their Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, and Dave and I spoke about really they've brought them on for the implementation process and using the data dashboard, and he spoke very positively about how it's transformed how they have been focusing on implementation and pulling their plan off of the shelf. And it's been very active, and they're very, very pleased. Great partner, he said.
They've been wonderful.
Any follow-up questions?
I have one.
Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
And this is not directed at you specifically, but just in general. A lot of times when you bring in consultants in other businesses, the cost is contained for travel in the bid. So I would ask that what is the travel expense that's put to it? Does it follow our guidelines or whatever? You know, depending on accounting firms that you use, sometimes you're paying so much per hour for travel versus this. Have we looked at that and broken that out? Or do we have experience with that anywhere?
Not specifically to my knowledge, no. I have not broken that out.
We included we budgeted for travel in our total, so we would not bill above for the additional cost.
Right, I understand that, but sometimes the rate for the travel is higher than what we would spend in district. I just want to make sure it's aligned.
Sure.
It would seem as a good partner, we should be aligned. If our people are traveling, it should be the same cost as you traveling.
Right, in terms of per diem, absolutely, we can look at that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I think that's it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank
It's
you.
nice to meet you all. Thank you.
As always, if there's some follow-up, contact Dr. Rowe. Anything else, Dr. Rowe?
Well,
for your
actually,
report?
I do. I'm going to go really quickly, but I do. I just have a few other things going on in the district that are worth highlighting. Over the past weekend, we celebrated a tremendous longstanding partnership with District 23 and our Wild Sting organization. The success of Wild Sting has been remarkable, and watching the reveal last weekend was an experience that I hold dear. It's really remarkable what can happen when school districts and community partners come together with the shared focus on giving our students a tremendous experience. And District 23 has been a wonderful partner while they've hosted Wild Sting, while we prepared Forest View for the renovation that is almost complete. Next year, we'll be moving Wild Stings back to the A building in our new CTE lab. So we're excited not only to welcome them back, but we presented District 23 with an appreciation plaque, as well as highlighted, I believe it was 13 different engineering partners who are the coaches for our teams, and they do a tremendous job. And just listening to some of the stories and the connections with our students that these engineers had, it really brought a great sense of pride to me, and I'm sure you all would feel the same way hearing them talk about their experiences working with our kids. So best of luck to the Wild Stings as they begin their season. You mentioned surveys in the presentation here tonight, and it's right now, it's like survey. It's nonstop. We've got a lot out there. Just wanted to highlight, we've been working through our EAB Climate and Culture Survey. We have our third and final round coming up later this spring. This began, some of the feedback that we received in that first survey was staff really wanting an improved sense of their opinions being heard and valued at the district level. So we've all been, at least the district superintendency has made it a point to be more visible and active out in the buildings. And I can tell you that while I'm out in the buildings and engaging with staff, they're noticing that and commenting on that. I was just telling Dr. Lopez walking in that I've had a number of staff members comment on how much they're seeing him and seeing others out. In the fall, I conducted some open forums with staff and just scheduled time in the buildings to sit in the teacher workroom and listen. In the spring, I've actually scheduled full days and have been spending a day in each of the schools. And I'm just having a blast doing that. I just wanted to share that. But I was at Buffalo Grove yesterday, had a tremendous day there, and what that's giving me the opportunity to do is not only is it just takes the the guard down, to walk the hallway with a teacher transitioning to a different class or a student transitioning, or meet with the security aides. Served lunch at Wheeling when I was there. I just had a good experience, but I get the chance to see operationally how each of our buildings run and how each of our buildings operates a little bit differently, to see kind of behind the scenes at the school. So it's been a really cool experience for me selfishly, but then also some really great conversations with staff members. That's how I got to learn that the SRO at Wheeling was a former art teacher, and now she's, a school resource officer, and the pride that she has in that building is special. So those are ongoing, but those that I've done thus far, I just wanted to share. It's been very, very cool for me. Other surveys, our communication survey is out, and it's setting the stage for our strategic planning process. We're actually asking staff in our community to give us feedback on how they like to receive communications from the district and the quality of that communication, so we can set the stage and ensure that we're really hitting the mark when we send something specific. Major shifts I think we're seeing now is people want text messages, and they want maybe a text message reminder to check an email in addition to just having the email sit there. And then finally, on the survey section is the 5 Essentials survey closes later this month. That is a state-mandated survey that we give, and it actually, I believe it's 5 points on our report card. So it matters. We need to hit certain thresholds in order to earn those points for the commendable and the exemplary status that we're used to in our building. So if you haven't taken those surveys, we would really appreciate that feedback. It doesn't just sit there. We do look at it and use it to shape our practice. And then a couple more quick things. AI in education. There's a group at Buffalo Grove. I just want to give a shout out to Tim Koziak and Jill Moraldo. I know it's happening in other buildings, but I just had the chance to participate at BG. They're running a series of staff education sessions on artificial intelligence and how it's shaping the world of education. Looking at it not only from what's possible to the student learning side, but then also the ethics and moral responsibilities that we have when addressing some of these issues. So it's a really great session. We actually, one of our former Buffalo Grove graduate works for OpenAI, and early next month is zooming in with this staff group to talk about what he's seeing actually doing the work, building it while we're playing with it now. So I'm really interested in how it can make our teachers' lives easier in terms of saving time. I hear of some people experimenting with it in terms of writing lesson plans, to writing some initial assessments, to maybe even writing an IEP, and then they spend their time personalizing that IEP instead of saving 80% of the time on writing each one, and they can spend their time on making it personalized to that student. So really interesting, that's what's possible. We have a lot of work that we need to do in this area, but I see some really great opportunities to save some time for our staff, so they can spend more time with kids directly, which is ultimately what we all want. And then finally, in terms of the capital improvements, I don't know I'm going to do this, but I'm sure they'll love me for it. But I want to offer a thank you to Mr. Yulee, Ms. Mistak, Mr. Keeley for their work that's being done to shift our standard operating procedures and how we do operations and capital improvements. Obviously, we're sitting in one of the newer spaces. We're on the verge of moving back to this building, which everyone at 2123 cannot wait for that. But there's a lot that goes on, and we're about to flip the switch. Tonight is step one of pushing our capital improvement planning 18 months in advance so that we can maximize the bidding process and get the best bang for our buck in terms of being early in the bidding process to get a lower cost so that we can stretch our dollars further, because we have a lot of work that needs to be done. So I just wanted to share my appreciation for them and that work that's being done, and we are excited to be back here. Mid-May is what I'm hearing, and I'm saying that publicly on purpose to hold us accountable to hitting our goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rowe. Next on the agenda is department reports, human resources. Ms. Kraft?
Yep, good evening. On March 2nd, District 214 was the host site to a local high school educator job fair. We had about 450 educators come, many of whom were young educators, some of whom were veteran But it was exciting and inspiring to see so many people want to be a part of serving our community and our kids. It was a lot of fun. It was also, I shared with Dr. Rowe afterwards, that it was really fun to watch. You know, we probably had 18 to 20 of our administrators there, meeting with person after person after person and sharing names and sharing resumes and calling principals over because they were excited about people. So you will see some teachers on the PTR at this board meeting and the next board meeting, which you probably wouldn't have seen that early in previous years because of our efforts to move staffing earlier and because of how aggressive some of our principals and administrators have been in getting some of the best candidates early. So great event. I'm proud to be a part of it.
Thank you. Next is Teaching and Learning, Dr. Lopez.
Thank you, President. I have just a few updates. First one is about the Nano Lab at Wheeling High School. So it's been a decade since Secretary of Education Arnie Duncan and Governor Pat Quinn, among many other dignitaries, visited Wheeling High School at the opening of that nanotechnology lab. We now have countless stories of students who've leveraged their experiences in the lab for opportunities in higher ed and research. It continues to be one of the only labs on a high school in the country, but since it's been 10 years and the cost of maintenance has exceeded the value of some of our current scanning electron microscopes, we are going to be needing to purchase a couple of new microscopes to be used for the 24-25 school year. Wheeling High School nanoscience teachers Kimberly Milligan and Carol Bouvier, along with their division head Emily Rodriguez, have partnered with Oakton Community College to research the best options moving forward. They're looking at the current equipment and a couple of other competitors, but I would anticipate the purchase of new microscopes coming to the board sometime in the coming months as that process moves forward. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. A second item, just to sort of give you a heads up, sorry about that, is the Care Solace is the mental health coordination platform service we purchased to support access to service providers in a timely manner. So access to mental health service providers continues to be a challenge in the community without this resource. Our student services teams have found the platform indispensable in securing mental health providers for individuals and their families. We do anticipate this item coming to the board as well. At that time, our student services teams will provide the board with a brief presentation on its use and the impact on our schools when we bring forward a contract renewal. And the last item, which is quite unexpected, so in an unexpected action by the procurement office, the Illinois State Board of Education has awarded the contract for the State Accountability Assessment to ACT. ACT underbid College Board by 15%. The contract would take effect the next school year. It would be a 3-year contract with a 3-year renewal option. So there's been lots of conversation about that across the state. That concludes my updates.
Thank you.
Can I ask,
Go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So did I hear that right? We were ACT in Illinois for years and years and years.
Yes.
And then Illinois decided to go to SAT.
Well, we actually went to Park first.
I forgot Park.
We
Yeah, I
don't
forgot
forget
Park. I forgot. That was interesting. But
And then from Park, we went to SAT College Board.
so, but SAT and ACT are delivered in, it tests differently. And the way our students had been sort of introduced to how questions were asked and sort of what the technology is and the methodology and all of that. I had students that were in those transition years where we did both. And it was sort of, you know, what was happening when. And now we're going to do that again in reverse?
Yes, we are as a state. So it's I mean, I think it's $12 to $15 million savings for the state. I think they have to go with the lowest bidder. I will say that as of next year, both assessments are digital. It's digital this year for SAT. Next year will be digital as well for the ACT. So students will be taking it on their iPad. I think that's new both this year and next. So in that matter, it'll be comparable in the delivery method. But yes, we're going to be changing.
But it's hard for students, right? If they're trying to gauge how they're progressing and what areas they need to work on, if they don't have a consistent test to be able to measure against, how are they supposed to get that help, that tutoring, that focus, you know, what are they supposed to just guess what's going to happen next year?
Yes.
Well, I think it's also important to add that, you know, maybe back when we were an ACT state and over the, post-COVID, the test doesn't carry as, the high-stakes nature of it is not
true.
the same. Colleges are not using them for admission decisions. Now, that's beginning to shift a little bit more back, where they are beginning to incorporate that into the decision, but I don't believe the high-stakes nature of them is the same as it was 10 years ago.
But they do consider them for doling out
They do.
dollars.
They do.
And that can be a barrier to education if you know, so.
You know, and when Dr. Lopez and I were talking about this, I mean, and he's right, in just looking at the district from afar, we were very good at the ACT, much better at the ACT than we were the SAT. So I believe the capacity is there internally for us to make the transition back and evolve with it.
And I realize you didn't make the state decision, so
I did not.
therefore I won't express my disappointment with you. But I just feel like, I mean, it's not that ACT is better or SAT is better or worse. The flip-flopping and the expectations and the stress that puts on teachers, families, and students.
It's the exact sentiment that is circulating around the state from other educators, superintendents, assistant superintendents, principals. The exact, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what they're frustrated. We spent 6 or 7, 8 years building our system to support this, to now then go back. They're frustrated by that, but.
And I understand 12 or 15 million is not measly in money, and that money can be used in high-value ways, but.
I believe it's actually the same story as what happened 8 years ago, when it's a state contract, and the low bidder is the low bidder. And SAT was the low bidder the last time.
Perhaps they could use some of that money to give it to students to seek tutoring to make up for the deficit that they're going to have because of the state's decisions.
Yeah. It will have, I should share, that it will have implications for all of our data modeling. That's the first thing my research office, Jeffrey, came to me and said, okay, so we're going to have to reset everything.
Yeah.
That was actually going to be my question, Dr. Lopez, because we've
Right?
been trying to get, we were just going to have our first
full
cohort of students that we could track, yes. So we'll have to be careful when we do the strategic planning and incorporate, what kind of metrics. As much as, I always equate standardized testing as an easy metric, right? It's a number you can say it goes up or down. But I think we have to be really careful, especially if the state is going to continue to swing back and forth. And again, I understandably so with the cost. And when is this actually going into effect?
For next school year.
For next school year.
Oh, good.
Okay, so we have juniors right now who are, because I know a lot of our schools have the SAT classes. There's been a lot of emphasis that we, during school, lunch periods, after school, so then.
We'll be switching sides.
Yes, but, you bring up an excellent point. Perhaps there's a way to offer like a summer course through the district of.
So our current sophomores would be the ones sitting for the SAT next year. As part of the state, you're right. Listen to me. The ACT next year is part of their sort of state accountability system. But
So we'll still keep the sophomores this year with the PSAT.
Our testing for this year is pretty much done and set. Right. So beginning this fall, we will start again with the Explore test for incoming 8th graders.
Okay, so that's what they'll come in as.
And next year, we will switch to the full EPASS system is what I would expect.
So I wonder, though, over our summer schooling, if we could consider, and I know that's already really in the works, but could we consider prep sessions for rising juniors to take the ACT, not SAT?
Yeah, we have prep sessions lined up for the SAT.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that that's usually geared for our current seniors who are wanting to sort of retake They still have an opportunity for fall for when
Right,
they're
right,
applying to
right.
colleges if they want a second chance. So that's typically what happens. There are sometimes some younger students, but mostly it's juniors going into senior year. And we do have the SAT prep sessions offered this summer.
And students can take the SAT. It's not that
Yes.
it won't exist.
Most universities accept
So if
both.
they're prepared, right, they could take that one. It just won't be the free one that's required and offered by the state for free in the, whatever that was, April usually?
It would be April of '25.
And when will we probably let parents know? I mean, because I'm guessing that parents generally take the SAT test.
Yeah, it was just approved yesterday.
It actually, I don't know if they've officially voted on it.
Should vote on it.
Oh, they did? Okay.
No, I don't know. I believe it was being heard
It was
yesterday.
presented yesterday, they have to officially vote on it. So after they officially vote on it, then I can work with Pat's team if there's an appropriate time for us to communicate.
Only because if considering students and the sophomores, I'm thinking of mine personally, obviously, but there are plenty of other sophomores out there who will be geared for the SATs because they're taking the PSAT this year. And if they were to still take the SAT next year, they would have to pay for it. And that's my concern, so that they could, be aware of that the ACT will be the one that will be offered in school. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you.
Board members, thank you. Okay, board reports. Does anyone have a board report that they'd like to share? Yeah, okay.
Attended the Robot Rumble and the Wild Sting Reveal, along with several other board members. Both were pretty cool. I've had the pleasure of attending PTC athletic booster meetings at all of our schools over the past 6 weeks. I thank all the principals for having such great parents, and those meetings they're very interesting. It really is not a big gossip session, but it's good to hear the opinions of parents. Some a little bit too much expressing stuff with me, but for the most part, I enjoy it. And I also want to give a shout out to Megan Kelly. I love your coffees with the principal. Those are also very enlightening. Last but not least, I'll feed into what Mike Palmer was just talking about, and that is Summer Experience, AKA Summer School. Registration starts tomorrow at 10 a.m. So who's going to be out there? Frank Fiorito, like the Taylor Swift tickets, getting my daughter into a summer school class. So if you have a child that needs some summer school, get out there at 10 a.m. tomorrow, because I hear the classes fill pretty fast, right?
Okay, then. Anyone else have an update that they'd like to share? Ms. Ronk?
Sure, I will go. Just a couple of thank yous. First of all, Mr. Keeley, I really appreciate you taking time to go through the budget with me and spend some time outside the board meeting and everything so that I can understand a little better. Also, I had the opportunity to get a little more familiar with special education with Mr. Kevin Schrammel at BG. He spent a couple hours so that I can understand special education better, walk through some of the classes. Amazing staff at BG and what they're doing there. And definitely an area that people are passionate about, as I am aware that they're at the other schools as well. Finally, I was able to attend the Jazz in the Meadows. Excellent opportunity to hear music, amazing to see the schools and some of the, I was there for the Hersey performance, and also got to hear Rolling Meadows. Good time. So if anyone didn't have a chance this year, definitely put it on the calendar for next year. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Mr. Dustling, do you have anything?
I attended the Masterworks concert up at Buffalo Grove a couple of weeks ago, about a week and a half ago. And it was very interesting. The chorus did a requiem, which is essentially a Catholic Mass in Latin, but they did it with the orchestra. It was 35 minutes long.
Wow.
It was unbelievable.
Wow.
And I also attended the Concert Band Festival last night at Rolling Meadows, and then the Symphony Band concert at Buffalo Grove a couple weeks ago. So it's been a great time. Thank you.
Ms. Palmer?
I'm just going to piggyback on Mr. Fiorito. While you're getting your kids excited about summer school, don't forget community education is about to start a new session, and you can do lots of fun things through our community ed programs. My husband and I might be doing a little ballroom dance, so. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, it's salsa and ballroom dance. It looks like fun.
Mr. Walker.
Have a couple updates. With NSSCO, the budget process continues. Thanks to Mr. Keeley and the other CSBOs across the neighboring districts that are really getting it organized. It's a better process this year and will be better going forward. And also the facility plan is moving forward as well, which Mr. Keeley and some of the other CSBOs have really taken, what'd you say, a larger involvement in it, I would guess. It's a transition of Julie Gillick transitioning out as she retires. Gavin's really good at it, but he needs some mentoring, and I understand that Mr. Keeley and Miss Lauren Hummel from 211 will partner with Gavin to get us on the right track. It's not off track, but it would be a better experience for all the member districts, because it's
So we'll look forward to a budget presentation here in May from NSSCO, like we have done in the past?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Then one last thing for the specialized schools, they're going to host a specialized game on March 21st to celebrate Disability Awareness Month, students and staff from life. The International Newcomer Academy, the Academy at Forest View, and Vanguard will be participating in or watching basketball games to promote inclusion and unite all specialized school programs. This inaugural event will take place in the field house at specialized schools on March 21st. Do we have a time for that? Say it again, please.
1:50.
150?
One-
Oh, in the afternoon. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That completes my updates.
Mr. Heineman, do you have anything?
Yes, I had a good time at the Arlington Heights Hearts of Gold luncheon, where Mr. Bill Dustling was recognized, along with Hersey teacher Amy Ort and student Claire Corley for being special Arlington Heights residents. Also, Hopeful Beginnings was recognized, and we received an update email from Hopeful Beginnings. And for people that don't know, Hopeful Beginnings takes in students that are expecting a child and gives them outstanding support. There are currently 29 students from District 214 that they are helping out. It's a teen parenting program, and they provide the hand-holding and the support we would all want for our own children. North Cook had a IASB meeting in Evanston, and it was a fun tour to go through a pre-K and K school. So everything was downsized. It was like being a Lilliput. And then there was a good discussion after the dinner about teacher shortages and possible solutions. Last thing, I again had a wonderful time at Hersey going through the showcase. For the very first time, I went on Friday, which is for junior highs, and the talent was probably a little less than I'm used to seeing with the high school groups, but the energy and enthusiasm was just outstanding. And I'm always impressed with the singing and dancing, but this year I noticed the backup bands, the bands that were making the music for them, and the costumes were also just outstanding. It was, both nights were very fun.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to Roll call action items. We got business of the board. We have 10.1, approval of disposal of closed session audio recordings. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Rauch.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
Dessling.
Yes.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
We go to 10.2.1. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
It's 11.2.1.
Oh, I've got an old, sorry. Thank you. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Yulee.
Thank you. We have 4 items tonight, and we've organized the agenda to start with summer '24. So the first 2 items will be focused on this upcoming summer. And then the last 2, as Dr. Rowe mentioned, we're starting that design process for 2 items, major renovations for summer of '25. So I'll start with item 1, which is the Wheeling High School building automation system replacement. And for context, this is not anything new. It just happens to be Wheeling's turn. We started here at Forest View in 2022, and we're in the process of completing Hersey's replacement currently, and then we will move on to Wheeling High School starting in roughly June. This is a comprehensive, involved process, so just, again, a reminder, we're talking about wiring, installation, sensors, controls for heat pumps, hot water heaters, ice plants, chillers, air handling units, rooftop units, blue pole stations, generators. This is a significant project. But again, Annetta and her team, along with our engineers and architects, have identified the order, and it just so happens to be Wheeling's turn to begin in June. And this is a cooperative purchase through Train.
Co-op purchase, thank you. Any discussion, board members? Call the roll.
Palmer. Fiorito.
Yes.
Dessling.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Rauch.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. 11.2.2.
11.2.2 is the...
Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Yulee.
Thank you. This is another cooperative purchase through Train. This is a boiler plant replacement at Buffalo Grove High School. This plant is about 30 years old, and again, kudos to our entire operations team and building team. We are fabricating parts at this point to keep that boiler plant operating. In fact, I got a text message from Principal Wardle a couple months ago, which is water pouring through a broken valve. So it is time. It is needed. And this is a full replacement to start in the summer and be completed by the time that we will need to provide heat to that building.
Discussion, board members? Call the roll.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Rauch.
Aye.
Dessling.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
11.2.3. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Yulee.
Thank you. And to elaborate as to what Dr. Rowe was speaking to earlier, this 18-month process, this first phase is project authorization. So our teams have done a conceptual design to come up with a rough magnitude cost at this point in time. What will happen once we obtain project authorization from the board tonight is we begin design development. So our teams then get their hands on every little detail and start to build that plan leading up to the bid process in early fall. And then we come back to the board for those final project approvals for the bid and the total scope of the project. For context, we went through this phase last year for Elk Grove Student Services in just under 2 months. So we've now provided our teams with nearly 6 months to thoroughly go through the design development process. So this one is specific to Buffalo Grove High School Phase 2, project authorizations for Pepper and our architect STR. Want to note about this project is that this Phase 2 has been included in all of the permitting So we included Phase 1 and Phase 2 in our necessary permitting with the village, and MWRD, which is the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. So anytime you do work outside, you need to do permitting through that organization. So we're ahead of the game, and then we'll continue to go through the design development phase, and we're hopeful to, depending on the completion of Phase 1, essentially immediately begin Phase 2 work, which is obviously weather dependent. But the idea is to be ready. We'll already have the site mobilized, and just when we're ready, begin Phase 2 work. And again, this is for the current basin parking lot will now become a varsity baseball field. And then just to the south of that, where the current tennis courts sit, will become a additional parking lot.
Board members? You have something?
Has there been any further discussion about Arlington Heights Road and that intersection there to the east of what is currently the exit on Dundee?
You're talking about the entry point off Dundee Road into...
Yeah.
Yes. So we went through a thorough investigation with our teams. We sat down with the village. That essentially would cost an additional $12 to $14 million.
Really?
Yes. So we have since moved on from that iteration for the plan, which would cause the stadium to move essentially either north or to the west, which is where the major costs are. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Board members?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just want to give a shout out to Chris and Jeff. I attended the first night when you had that open house regarding all of that. I know it was a while ago, but I heard the second night was much better attended, and I thought, at least the night I was there, you guys did a great job. The diagrams, everything looked beautiful, and I know you had a lot of tough questions. I think the baseball parents were the main culprit, but they had reasons to ask the questions based on the fact that their fields are pretty much not usable. But I just want to give a shout out to both you guys and Annetta as well. You guys did a great job along with the vendors at explaining everything that was going on and setting a real positive environment. Thanks, guys.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
The varsity baseball field, is that kind of expected to be at the same elevation it is now, or is that going to be lifted up higher?
Yeah, they're going to have to backfill that entire basin, and they're burying essentially a 2-foot water tank to replace the water retention that happens in the basin. So the significant cost of that project is for that tank and lifting that entire area up in elevation.
Yeah, there's a lot of dirt that has to be moved in there.
Yes, sir.
Do you know the current size of the parking lot that's there?
Principal Wardle, do you happen to know how many spots are in that basin lot?
There's about 108 current spots.
Okay, and the new one looks like it's 120-ish?
120.
Yeah. And also the access to that parking lot looks a little tight. But I assume, traffic people have looked at it and decided it's acceptable? Okay.
That'll also be part of the next 6 months in that design development, is looking at traffic studies and traffic flows in and out.
Well,
do we have a permit already for that?
Not yet.
Okay.
That's in process.
Okay.
Ms. Rock?
To piggyback on Mr. Heinemann's, are we compensating for those other spaces somewhere else, or do we feel that we have enough parking spaces then, or is this
Yes.
still in discussion?
Sorry to talk to the audience. We currently use about 100 to 120 spaces on a typical day.
Okay.
So on a typical day, we're absolutely fine. We have secured District 21 with a great partner, a Longfellow, that we can use their entire parking lot for any kind of open.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are we done? Okay. Call the roll.
Walker?
Yes.
Palmer?
Aye.
Dustling?
Yes.
Fiorito?
Yes.
Heinemann?
Aye.
Rauch?
Aye.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, 12-4. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Yulee?
Thank you. Last item is for the John Hersey High School. I'm open to a new name here. We're calling it Essential Services because it's not just student services. This project is encompassing over 10,000 square feet, and in the attachments, you can see that this is also the main office area, so that entire footprint that goes all the way back to the nurse's office area, and then across the hall, which is currently the dean's and attendance office, will also be captured. And then the main entry point, the old terrazzo floor, is also going to be part of this plan as well. And you can see the different highlighted colors in that overlay. But again, this is a project authorization. Our architect is Archon, and then also with Pepper again. So Dr. McFall and his team have been incredibly helpful to this point. And then once we obtain project authorization is when Dr. McFall and his team and the architects really sit down and talk about design components. I should mention we've learned a lot from the Elk Grove project itself leading up to mobilization actually on Monday, but we are utilizing this similar delivery model with that pod model with student services.
Questions, board members?
I don't have a question, but I just want to give a shout out to Dr. McFall, because at the PTC meeting, he gave the presentation on this, and you did a great job, Heath. I know some people haven't had the pleasure of going in the back and have a meeting with the counselor in their closet, which pretty much is what it is. And I did have the experience of being in the nurse's office one time to deal with the orange card situation, and that didn't look very pleasurable either. So I know how much that those areas really need some maintenance. Thank you, Heath.
Maybe we can have a naming contest. And we
All
get some
ears.
swag for whoever who names it with Hersey swag. Just a thought. Any other discussion, board members? Call the roll.
Palmer. Aye. Fiorito.
Yes.
Dessling.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Rauch.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Moving on, business services. 13.31, can I have a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions for Mr. Keeley? Call the roll.
Dessling.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Palmer. Aye. Rauch.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
11.32, a motion in a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, board members? Call the roll.
Palmer.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
Dessling.
Yes.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Rauch.
Aye.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
11.33, can I have a motion in a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
A motion in a second, Mr. Keeley.
Certainly no new variables in our fiscal year 25 preliminary budget process at this point. We will probably pick up some new data once we close out the third quarter of the fiscal year on March 31st. So there's something for all of us to look forward to for sure. Sorry. In addition, we have added the projection chart here for the next 2 fiscal years based on all of the assumptions listed in that agenda item. So as you can see, this is for our operating funds only, and we are showing a surplus operating fund the next 2 years, given the assumptions loaded into our forecast, which has been, the directive of the board. And as Dr. Rowe and I have met individually and in groups with board members to kind of go over our 5-year forecast, we're going to be building into that over the coming years with our budget, so that we're going to be providing that to you each year. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Dr. Rowe, you have anything additional to add?
No, nothing additional. I just should offer some appreciation to Mr. Keeley and his team for how they've gone department by department to build this budget, really from the bottom up, and really looking at things of very student-focused in his work, he and his team. I appreciate that. That's where our money should be spent.
Board members? Any questions? Okay, call the roll.
Welk.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Dussing.
Yes.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. 11-4-1. Can I have a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Palmer.
Aye.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Dussing.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Welk.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
I need a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing the employment, employment compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in an educational setting, or legal counsel for the public body. Litigation, when an action against, affecting, on, or behalf of a particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court of administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent. Oh, sorry, I forgot this. 5 ILCS 122 C11, and collecting bargaining matters between a public body and its employees and their representatives. 5 ILCS 122 C2. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Rowe, how long do you anticipate closed session going?
I'm going to say 9:59.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye, thank you. We'll return, we will have action for closed session. Okay, thank you. We are back into open session, and despite Dr. Rowe's predicament of 9:59, here we are at 9:54. So we have two action items. 13.1.
13.1.
Go ahead.
I move for the approval of personnel transaction reports for March 14th, 2024.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Rauch. Aye. Heineman.
Aye.
Dustling.
Yes.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Palmer.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
13.2.
I make a motion for the approval of the settlement agreement and general release with Elite Soccer.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Dustling.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Rauch. Aye. Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye. Wish everyone a good spring break, and can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Walker.
Yes.
Rauch. Aye. Dustling.
Yes.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Palmer. Aye. And Kreutzer.
Aye, we are adjourned.
9:50.